Hi, everyone, and welcome. This is a new video series called Three Things You Need to Know. And in it, we want you to hear straight from the experts on a variety of topics. They will share in their own words what you need to know right now. My name is Jennifer Best, and I am the head of marketing at All American Entertainment, also known as AAE Speakers Bureau. We work with event professionals and meeting organizers to book celebrities, entertainers, and speakers for events and conferences. Today, I'm speaking with Jenn Lim. Jenn is the CEO of Delivering Happiness, a company she and Tony Hsieh, the late CEO of Zappos.com, co-founded to create happier company cultures for a more profitable and sustainable approach to business. Delivering Happiness started as a book, New York Times and WSJ bestseller, which sold 1 million copies worldwide, and evolved into a business consultancy and global movement that has impacted and inspired companies and organizations around the world. In her newest book, Beyond Happiness, How Authentic Leaders Prioritize Purpose and People for Growth and Impact, Jenn draws on her decades of experience in culture and strategy to translate it into a practical how-to framework for more sustainable workplaces and modern organization design. She guides all of us, no matter our title or role, how to live more meaningful lives through the work we do every day. Jenn's mission is both simple and profound: to teach businesses how to create workplaces led with happiness and humanity that generate more profit, sustain all people at every level of the organization, and share how we can make an impact by being true to our authentic selves. Welcome, Jenn.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Nice to have another Jen in the world together.
I am so glad to get to chat with you again. For those of you who don't know, Jenn was our very first speaker in our 2020 webinar series about finding happiness through challenges right at the start of the pandemic. We'll drop a link to that series in the show notes. You'll want to check that out if you haven't already seen it. Jenn, it looks like you've been very, very busy with the launch of your new book. What else is new in your world?
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. Back then when we first started talking, we didn't know how long this was all going to last, yet this
Right.
keeps on going and going and going. So what are we phase 10 of this whole thing? But yeah, it's just been super busy with the book launch and, a bit bummed that we can't do things in person because it's always very different to have like inner just personal relationships and conversations in the flesh. But basically I've just been trying to do, figure out the book launch well, I'm usually at home, but right now I'm in the backwoods of Idaho.
Oh.
Yeah. So a different place to try and launch the book. But yeah, book launch is coming October 12th, and we decided to do something a little different. And so we're doing this event around the book launch, which we're calling Beyond Happiness Palooza, just because it's not short enough. But we really wanted to make it more about the conversation and have real talk about the whole topic of, where happiness now is before versus where it was before and what really is beyond happiness. So.
Wow, that's great. That event sounds fantastic. So I think just as soon as we're done here, I'm heading straight there to sign up for that. I want to check it out. But first things first, we've got to get our interview in.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and dig into the three things we need to know about happiness. What is the first thing our viewers need to know?
So the very first thing is that, so I think we all have different connotations, of happiness, and it's all very subjective. So one of the great things about happiness, when you put that word out there, people have their own immediate like images or visuals in their mind or definitions. And sometimes it's all about rainbows and unicorns. Sometimes it's puppy dogs and, whatever like brings you happiness. And so for us, for all these years, especially since we launched Delivering Happiness with Tony back in 2010, there was something more to that in terms of scientific happiness. And that was about basically giving all the academic research on what happiness was. There's certain things that increase our happiness in more meaningful, more sustainable ways. And that included having a sense of autonomy and freedom, having a sense of progress in life or at your work or your job, having a sense of connectedness, just, deep and meaningful relationships. And most ultimately, from a scientific point of view, the most sustainable form of happiness is having a higher purpose. And so essentially, what is it that we're doing at work and in life that's bigger than ourselves? So that's been the definitions we've been using for a long time. And I think that given all that's happened, especially since 2020, it's kind of put us into a new place of what happiness really means. And so all that stuff that I talk about, the science of happiness, still applies. There's no doubt, like, there's a reason why I believe in science. Like, you keep on testing and testing and testing and see if it holds up. But I think the first thing about happiness is there's more to it. And I think when I started, working on this book, and especially since Tony passed in November of 2020, it really brought me to a different place of what does it mean now? But I think the first things first is that it's just to get it out of our minds that it's not just about the fluff that we hear or things that are fleeting. Those are important. Pleasures in life are important. We love to go hang out with our friends and grab a drink, or go get a bit like buy a new pair of sweats, the ones that are different from the last year. All these things are like important forms of happiness, but they're also very fleeting. So I think it's been really we as a society has been put to the test of actually redefining what happiness means for us now in more meaningful ways.
Yeah, I think we really do have a problem here, like in this world where we have this false perception of what happiness is, because we see it playing out on social media or in movies, and we think that that is the immediate gratification part of our brains, maybe, that thinks that's what happiness is. If I just can appear to be happy online, then I must be happy. And for some of us, I mean, I really think that gives us a false picture of what happiness really looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you.
Yeah.
What would you say is the second thing we need to know about happiness?
So kind of building on what you just said, the last 18 months of our lives, I think, put this idea of happiness, like for a while there, people didn't even want to talk about happiness. Like, how can you even bring up that that term right now when there's a lot going on in the world? People were losing their jobs, losing their homes, losing their lives, and feeling a big sense of loss, grief, and uncertainty. And when you have all these different variables that you can't control outside of your life, I think the biggest next point of happiness is that it's something that I talk about in my book is what I believe that we as human beings need to be able to ground ourselves in our own self of purpose and values. What's most important for us on a day-to-day basis? What will we live and die for? And then with that, with all the things that are swirling around us that are changing, then we have a better sense of how we can be resilient. Because if we don't have that groundedness within ourselves, it's so tough to figure out, like, what's most important. Do I decide, like, do I spend time on this, this task at work or in life, or do I spend time on this, what's actually most important and meaningful to me? So I think the second point of it all is that what we've seen is that companies, teams, people in general have a better sense of not just happiness and what that is, or are actually asking better questions about it, but what humanity means. I'm calling it the reset on humanity, because when have we ever seen, from a global perspective scale, everyone got to hit a reset on humanity at the same time? And to experience that, I mean, we've had pandemics in the past, we've had global recession in the past, we've had social unrest in the past. We just never had it in the same freaking year. And I was almost going to go the other extreme of, like, I don't know if we can cuss on this podcast. I'm just kind of I'm restraining myself a little bit. So it was a crazy freaking year, and everyone was just like, what the heck just happened? So I think these concepts that used to be a little bit, a little too woo-woo, a little too fluffy, of happiness and humanity in the workplace, it all of a sudden broke down those barriers, because leaders at all levels, you don't have to be in the boardroom or the C-level exec, leaders across the organization are seeing that we have to be human to each other. And that whole conversation got totally, blown open in a good way when we see, Simone Biles at the Olympics saying, you know what, I'm not going to do this. And everyone's, some people are really pissed off. They're like, how can you represent our country and like say, like kind of like man up or woman up, and more and more people are just saying, no, you know what? I can't, and I don't want to because I need to take care of myself.
Mhm.
So I think, of course, we're not Olympians, but we are all human beings. And because of that, conversation is so much more accessible and relatable,
Mhm.
and is no longer taboo to say, like, four-letter words like love is not taboo to talk about in, or care, like kind. Those things are not taboo in the workplace anymore. And if anything, I think leaders are more respected if they actually talk about those things, if not lead by example, and
Mhm.
be able to say, like, hey, I'm kind of having a crappy ass day, and this is the reasons why. Like, how are you doing? And just inviting that conversation makes a huge difference. That I think you kind of have joke. I kind of have joke about, like, let's not let a good pandemic go to waste. Let's use it for the best of us as human beings, as ourselves, and also, of course, for each other, and how we're going to grow from here.
Yeah, that's a really, really great point. And that's a change in the workplace I've seen definitely in the last year and a half or so myself. I mean, I really think it's nice to see how personal values have kind of entered into the workplace discussion and what matters to us as humans, like you said. And things like telecommuting work or spending time with family and having flexibility and understanding for that. Those are changes I'm really happy to have seen in the workplace right now. And I think those are discussions that 5,
Mhm.
10 years ago, we just weren't having. It was just you're expected to get your job done, and the, personal stuff is personal life outside of work. And it feels like we've really seen a merge of these activities happening this year, especially. And
Totally.
so I think it's a good thing for companies too. I agree with you. What is the third thing we need to know about happiness?
Yeah. So, I mean, I love that the fact, I'm going to build again on what you just said in terms of, you brought up the aspect of values, and we talk about purpose a lot. So a big part of where our belief system is like from delivering happiness standpoint, is that as organizations, we instill purpose and values in an actionable and livable way, not just words on the wall that, oh, this is our mission and these are our values. And we all
Mhm.
know when things can go awry when companies don't live by it.
Yeah.
So I think that the third part of this, of happiness, now more than ever, is that um, I think organizations and companies have been really more vocal about, oh, this is what we stand for. Like Airbnb has done it. Um, Tom's has done it. Starbucks has done it. Great examples of what it means to be mission or purpose led. What I think the third thing is about is that we have to factor ourselves as individuals into that
Mhm.
equation. So it's not that we're showing up to work because we want to live, we want to get a paycheck. So we want to live by their purpose and values, but we also want to show up and live by our own personal purpose and values. And so I think that's where the biggest shift of what I've seen, especially in the last few years, and the catalyst of it all with COVID and 2020, is to be able to ask ourselves the hard questions of, like, we had so much time hanging out at home because of COVID. So a
Mhm.
lot of people have been talking to me about, I had to ask those hard questions and answer them for the first time of, is this really what I want to be doing? Is this how I want to spend my life? And for me personally, and I know everyone had some semblance of loss during the last 18 months, like, and I was, this was me writing in the middle of writing the next, book in my process of living, and Tony passed away. And it really put me to that point of what I had to question myself. I had to have that growth mindset and ask myself my own hard questions. Does this all Is this all real? Is this all still true? Because people are asking, like, what happened and all this stuff, and it's just like, well, what are my what's my belief system and all that. And by going through that process while processing his death, it reinforced my belief system even more, that these questions need to be tied to what's most authentic to us as individuals, as leaders, not just at work, but in life. And by asking these questions of making sure we're not answering just what's in it for me and my own purpose and values, but how does that align to that of the company? And therefore, how what's in it for all? Like, it's no longer a sustainable way to think about one or the other. They need to be tied in with each other so that it's, you know, our own individual self-actualization, if you believe in Maslow, but it's also the greater realm of being able to help others fulfill their purpose and find meaning as well. So I have a metaphor in the book that it's really about greenhouses in some senses of that. You know, as leaders, we all want to nurture everyone else's greenhouses, want to make sure they grow, develop, have a good life. But sometimes we forsake our own. And it's like the old, you know, the whole airplane thing announcement, like make sure you got your oxygen mask on first. And maybe people forgot about that because we're no longer on planes as much anymore. But it is a reminder that we do need to put that on first. So that's why a big part of the book is nurture your own greenhouse, number one, as you grow others. So I think that's the third point about happiness I really wanted to communicate and convey, that it's so easy not to do that, but now we know that it has to be like so interconnected. Otherwise something's going to give.
Wow, I mean, I really like that analogy of the greenhouse, because I'm a rookie gardener, so I completely can understand and relate to that analogy just shared. And I think that's great when you think about nurturing others as in whatever role in an organization that you serve, supporting others, either internal or external customers. And I think that it's really important that, you know, all of these things that you've talked about today, and making sure that we are reflecting humanity and living our values, and all of these things are so important for us to just get perspective and your expertise on. So thank you for this. I think it's been really insightful today. And so I also want to take a second and congratulate you on the new book. I hear it's been over 10 years in the making.
Yes, it has been. It also makes me think about how time goes by so quickly, and unless we can wake up in the morning and say, this is how I want to spend my time today, another 10 years will go by that quickly as well. So
well, I plan to read it before 10 years are up. I can't wait to pick it up and give it a read. So I'm looking forward to it. And I wanted to thank you again for sharing your 3 things we need to know about happiness with our audience today. This is such an important topic. Mental health is finally getting a lot of attention, and it's the attention it deserves for such a long time now. It's really been a pleasure to get to work with you both for the series and as well as a keynote speaker for our clients. So I know they've been happy as well. So to book Jenn for an upcoming event, you're going to want to visit the link in the description below or check her out on aaespeakers.com. We'll also share a link to Jenn's book, Beyond Happiness, in the show notes, along with how to snag a copy of the Beyond Happiness playbook that pairs with it. And last but not least, don't forget to register for Beyond Happy Palooza on October 15th. So if you are not already, please follow All American Entertainment on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you've enjoyed this interview with Jenn Lim, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out the other interviews in our 3 Things interview series. So thanks again, Jenn, and from the team at AAE Speakers Bureau, thanks for watching.